We're going to move on now, guys. We're going to move on. We're going to start talking about data exploitation, really, because again, once you've created data, these guys can do RCM. They can produce super optimized maintenance schedules. But if all they do is get sat on the shelf and nobody uses them, then it's a complete waste of time, of course. So we've got to exploit the data. I'm going to tell you a little story. It's a true story. And a couple of years ago, we were trying to get into the business of teaching people to use Excel. But using Excel like at an advanced level, because you can use Excel in very simple ways and very, very clever ways. And to kickstart that process, we offered free courses to people, and we were trying to get outside defence as well. So we were offering free courses to local businesses. And a couple of hours long, and Matt, looking for Matt somewhere, Matt, thank you, Matt. Matt was running the courses. Matt will be up speaking shortly. And we had a bunch of people from a local business, and they were telling a story, and they were explaining how they used Excel. At the end of the month, Matt can correct me if I get the facts slightly wrong, they entered their various sales data into the spreadsheet. And then the ladies who worked in the office, who were telling the story, said, then what we do is, one of us reads out the numbers, and the manager stands there with his calculator and calculates the percentages, and then we type them back in. Yeah, okay, there's a few people crying already. Yeah, you get the point. It's amazing, isn't it? But that's sometimes, and I tell that story because that's sometimes how we feel when we see things going on in the defence sector. There's a story about converting electronic publications into PDF documents, which cost a significant amount of money. You know the story? The PDF, the original documents cost a fantastic amount of money, and the conversion also cost a very, very significant amount of money. And we don't get it. We sit here. Sorry, did someone?
Right. I think TDOT does that for you.
The point is, we don't get it. Yeah, we're kind of struggling with this. We also hear stories about converting data modules into Word documents. And for those of you who know the technology, the data modules, the XML or HTML, they've got tags in them. So they had a team of people manually deleting the tags to convert the data into Word documents. Another one which is fairly recent, large teams of people, 30-odd people, looks for Lee, for how long?
6 months.
6 months, converting documents from one standard of electronic publications into another. Now, dealing, and similar stories, there's a whole raft of them. So we just don't get it. We're baffled and sort of exasperated by this because, we look at this and we cost it out and we go, well, say, Paul, how long would it take you to write a bit of code to do that? And you end up with, weeks, months at the outside, and you're just wondering why it's taking £500,000
So
quid.
were they all defence examples?
They were all defence examples, and they're all very close to where you were sitting now. Okay, close enough anyway. So, a lot of this, the solution is in the use of XML and XSLT, the transformation language. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And part of this is about understanding that XML is not just about tech hubs. XML is an incredibly powerful concept if it's deployed correctly. And if we understand how these tools can be deployed, then we will see some of the benefits. And Paul and Lee are going to come back up now, and they're going to use that tool we keep obliquely referring to, our RCM tool, to illustrate the points. Basically, this is real life examples trying to demonstrate what is possible if you know what you're doing with these technologies. You guys, you're on again. Paul's going to be famous at the end of the day. He's up lots of times.
We're going to use our tool, and that's only because
Steal that back, something.
the A-Star database, or the A-Star toolset that we developed, we also needed a publication capability. One of the things we were trying to remove was the concept of creating RCM data, giving it to somebody else for them to interpret and change the format of it to get publications at the end of it. To get away from that, we developed a tool, a data transformation tool. And all it takes is the same source data that the RCMers came up with, some maintenance task information that they alluded to, maintenance schedules. And we transform that data into whatever format we need, whether that's a format for authorizing that information, for authorizing that data and that maintenance schedule, or whether it's a tool for creating the maintenance schedule itself. Now, where we started from was really, really simple. Create a single document at the single press of a button, which hopefully Paul will demonstrate and talk through what's actually happening on
That's
screen.
all right, you've already got it open.
Yeah.
You've done that. Right. Okay. Right, so in our particular system, is there a... Yeah, there is. We've got here, what we're doing is this is just going to run through a load of stuff, and all it's doing is it's getting a load of data out of a database, and it's constructing a great big text file. It's creating an XML file. An XML file, whether you've come across them or not, is quite a big thing because it is just text, but it can contain hierarchical relationships between data. So you can pretty much represent anything in an XML file just with text, and that means that you can send it across the internet, and you can do loads of other stuff. You don't need anything else with it. What this is doing is it's getting an entire dump of all of the data around a particular thing in the database. In this case, it's a particular aircraft, a particular type of aircraft. Well, in this case, it's actually the Millennium Falcon, but this is demo data, geek demo data. So you can see this is just the raw XML that gets put out, and that is just everything. It's not flavoured, it's not pretty to look at, but it's got all the information in there. The fact that it's just a text file and it's XML means that we can then use some standard techniques to convert it into other stuff. And this is not that difficult to do. So if I just, that's pretty ugly. If you start looking at it, if you know a little bit about how the database works, which I wouldn't expect any of you to, you can start to pick up on what some of these things mean. And it all starts to make sense. Strene Millennium Falcon. But what we can do is, that's just the starting point. What we can do is we can convert that into something that's a bit prettier. So even the next step is to just prettify it a little bit. So it takes out a bit of the stuff that you're not so bothered with, and then we can convert it again, and we can strip out all the stuff we're not interested in at all, and we can change the names so they're actually human readable. So now this is beginning to make a lot more sense. We've got name, Millennium Falcon, project number. Somebody could actually look at that and understand the meaning of it quite easily. This is quite a whopper. This is a small study as well, but you can see there's loads of stuff in there, and what we've got is we've just got the lot, all the data about that particular study. Now, given that as a starting point, what we can then do is we can transform it using XSLT, which is a global standard, to produce something else. And in doing that, we can filter it, sort it, decide which bits we want and which bits we don't. So we can end up with something very simple or very, very complicated. The data itself doesn't tell you any of that. It tells you about the relationships between the data, but it doesn't tell you about how it should be presented in any way at all. Now, at this point, I'd like to just sort of talk about how people usually do this sort of thing. And there's two ends to it. One of them is you say, right, we've got loads of data in the database, we need a report. And you go and talk to a programmer. And the programmer will then write something that will produce a PDF for you. And then if you realise, oh, actually, we need another column in there, you have to go to the programmer again, it has to go through the whole development testing cycle, and it takes quite a long time. And of course, you have to involve a software company in doing that, which is not always ideal. It's not the easiest approach. Now, the other end of the spectrum, has anybody ever used Crystal Reports or anything like that? No? Okay. Crystal Reports is meant to be friendly, sort of drag and drop interface to databases. But anybody that's ever used it will know that that actually is not the case at all. It does do drag and drop, but it gives you more headaches than anything else because it's trying to oversimplify. The concept of databases is quite a technical and logical one. So trying to make it friendly to any user, there's always going to be a few problems. So what we've got here is we've got a middle solution, which relies on a logical programmer-like approach, but it doesn't require programming. It just requires actually just creation of text files. And so that's kind of in the middle. It's very, very flexible. We can create whatever we want, but it's not the sort of thing that anyone could do. You do need a little bit of knowledge, but I think it sits in the right place. You don't need to rely on software developers or dodgy software from Microsoft. Okay, so this What have we got here? So if I just press document, I can show you a few examples. Remember what we started off with here was we started off with the raw data, and that's everything. So then we've got the different options to create different types of output documents. So in this one, this is a document we use, it's a PDF. It takes a few seconds to run. But again, it depends on the complexity of the data, how long that takes. But what that's done is it's created a Word document from the raw data. Okay, so you can see it's imported pictures. That data has come straight from the database. It's got table of contents. Now, we know that people still do this manually. They will still look at the data and they will type the stuff in. So if somebody makes a change in the database, then you then have to manually update some of these documents. Obviously, what we want to try and encourage is that whole back to source approach. So it's so easy to create the end document, you just press F12, that's the easiest way. You just go back into your source, you change the data, and then you regenerate the documents. Now that, we've just created a Word document. I can select that in exactly the same format if I create a PDF version, which should be identical to the Word one. Obviously, we prefer PDFs because people can't go in and edit them easily. There we go. Get lost. Okay, so you can see eventually it goes. It's the same. It looks the same as the Word version, but this is a PDF. It's done exactly the same thing. Exactly the same process has produced this.
That's still all the.
That, well,
that's still all the data.
It's all the data, but it's filtered and it's ordered in a particular way. So part of this document will do a particular task, and so it views the data in a particular way, and then there'll be a separate section which views the data in a different way.
If you
And
wanted to do a report on a particular subject, so a particular element of your millennium Falcon, it can extract only that data.
Yes.
And do only
Absolutely. Whereas, this is what I say about the programming, if you had to rely on going and talking to a programmer to do that, that would take quite a long time, and very often you just don't bother. And that's when people start bodging it, and they just start going, oh, I'll just do it myself, I'll just edit it manually. We've had quite a fast turnaround on this. Lee is generally my biggest customer when it comes to doing these things, and he'll come to me and he'll say, can I have a report? I need this report, and I just need you to show me these aspects. And we can usually do it in an hour, can't we? Which is pretty good. And he now knows that it's not ridiculous to come and ask, and he'll get the results quite quickly. And that's one of the big benefits of this system. And if there's something wrong, you just tweak it a little bit, because it's just a text file. You just change it, regenerate. When I say regenerate, you're not getting the data down again. You're just doing the last bit, where you're using that data to create the output document, so the data just stays the same. To show that in a little bit more, we've got other types of documents. If I can see, there we go. So FreeMind is always a good one. System map, I hope this works. So because the output is XML, which can be used to generate other stuff, we can use it to do lots of other stuff. MM files are, oh, it is working good, FreeMind files, which just happen to be in XML format. So you create an XML file, give it the appropriate extension, and straight away, straight out the box, it opens it up in FreeMind and creates a mind map. So that shows you the system structure of this particular part of the aircraft. Okay, this is all from the same data. What else we got? We can create reports. That one should work okay, shouldn't it?
It assumes that the database has captured the data in such a way that you can do all that relational.
As long as, what we always say, as long as the data represents the true relationships between the entities, we can get what you need. So our approach is we model the real situation as much as we can. So the database tables will model real things. And so as long as it's in there, we can get it out and we can do what you need with it.
We learned that.
Yeah.
We learned that because a lot of the initial development was around authoring outputs. People were looking at end products, maintenance schedules that had been authored, and you get things like control cables 4 off or pipes 7 off. Try and just split those up again, because you need to at the end, when something has been created called pipe 7 off. You just can't do it. So we learned really early on that actually we need to create 7 pipes, because then we can get a report for 7 pipes, or we can author it as pipes times 7, or we can do some other stuff. And that's what we mean by modelling the real life situation. If you create the data in the right way, then you can reverse engineer any of the authoring formats or any of the formats you need, but you have to have the source information correct.